So you've clicked on this video because you want to learn more about how to use the Trading 212 app, and you are in the right place. My previous guide got over 100,000 views and it was time that I updated it. So let's get straight into the app. So once you've signed up to Trading 212 and deposited your account with a certain amount, not only will you receive a free share if you had used my link or my promo code, but you will be presented with this home screen. So this is the first thing that we see when we open the app, and in this video it will be a step-by-step guide for absolute beginners on how to navigate this app. One thing to note is that when you do open an account, you will by default be using the Trading 212 Invest account. Now, if I click on the corner here, you will see that there are three types of accounts. The orange one is Trading 212 Invest. This is where a lot of people might begin their journey on. This is a normal investing account, and with any sort of normal investing account, if you do make a certain amount of profit, you will be liable to be paying taxes, which you have to calculate on your own. Now, the second type of account is the CFD account, and as a beginner, you should not even be looking into this account, so I'm not going to be talking about that account. Now, the third account applies to only UK investors, and what this account is called is the Trading 212 ISA. Now, if you don't have an ISA anywhere else or have never even heard of ISA, I recommend, if you are a UK based investor, to just use that account. Pretty much everything that we do in our Invest account, we can do in our ISA account, minus some features which are particular to that account. Whatever profit you make in this account here, the ISA account, you do not ever have to pay tax on that, so I would recommend using that account if you don't already. However, for the purposes of this video, we're just going to be talking about the Trading 212 Invest account. So in the home screen, we can see that there is this slidey menu here, and it rolls around here. Essentially what this does is the first tab gives you news information. So it will give you news information on many of the popular indexes or indices, whichever way you want to call them. I'm going to be talking a bit more about indices later on, which is a very huge part of an investor's portfolio. I'm going to also be explaining every single term, so you don't have to worry about that. But essentially, the news is very important to investors as things happen in the economy and they can, a lot of the times, affect the share price. Now, also in the slidey menu, you do also have top movers. Now, these are companies which have gained a certain amount in terms of their value in a very short period of time. And I must warn you that always your capital is at risk, but please do not just invest in a company just because you find it in the home screen. For example, you can see that Faron Pharmaceuticals, a company that I've never heard of, is up by 27%, which sounds really good. However, that does not mean that that is a company that will keep going up, or actually a company that won't go bankrupt. When you're investing, if you put all of your money into a company that becomes bankrupt, you lose all your money, and that is the reason why we say capital is at risk. There is no such thing as free money, and with investing, you are personally risking your money in an attempt to actually gain some money in terms of profits, dividends, or even interest, as I'll talk a bit about later. Now, I am wearing a Trading 212 t-shirt, but however, this video is not sponsored, just thought I'd add that. The next thing on the slidey menu is your watch list. Now, I have not changed my watch list, so this is actually the default watch list. I personally don't really add individual companies to my portfolios. You might see that I do have some. I prefer to invest in indexes or indices. I'll talk a bit more about them later on. But in either case, you can see there are certain companies on this watch list by default. For example, in my last video, I went into Tesla. So for this example, I'm going to go into Amazon instead. So I'm going to press Amazon here. So this is a very important part of Trading 212, which any single company or index, it will have a few key information bits that I'm going to go through. The first thing here is the most important, and this is the current share price. Two bits that you should really focus on. One is the currency. So this is actually in United States dollar. As a UK investor, you would know that you probably will be investing in pounds. There will be some sort of currency exchange going on when you are buying this particular stock. The next information bit here is what the stock costs at this point in time. I am filming this on a Saturday, so there won't be actually any fluctuations because the stock markets are usually closed on the weekends. Now, the American markets do open UK time from 2:30 p.m. all the way up to 9 p.m. This does change a few months in a year because of daylight savings, but generally American markets open at 2:30, whereas the UK markets, they open at 8 a.m. in the morning and close at 4:30 p.m. in the evening. Of course, UK time, that does not change. Now, the next most important thing are the graphs here. Now you can see there are 3 buttons underneath. You can see there is a 1D, which stands for 1 day. There's a 1 week view, 1 month view, 3 month view, 1 year view, and the maximum view, which is the maximum trading 212 recorded anyway data set of what the price fluctuated in a particular stock. As I said, this is only trading 212 recorded. Amazon did not start in 2014, for example. So for a beginner, you should know that when you find a particular stock, there are 2 things that you can do. First of all, if you haven't already bought it, you can buy it. And if you already have it, you can sell it. So these are 2 buttons that we're going to go through now. Let's say, for example, I wanted to buy a share in Amazon. That is, of course, going to set me back $187 at the time of filming. So what I can do is press the buy button. Now, as a beginner, let's understand what a market order is. Now, the market order, just like a supermarket, is the price that you pay when the market is open. For example, if an orange was £1 in Tesco, which is pretty much a market, I'm going to buy it at that price. Now, anything that isn't market related is different because you're waiting on the fluctuations of the price. Now, with any sort of stock market, as we can see, the price changes in any minute period, pretty much any second period, the price does change, which unlike a normal conventional market where an apple stays £1 for many days or months, the value of the shares in a stock market will always be going up and down because people are buying and selling this equity, which is the stock or share. Now, this means that if it's not a market order, what we're doing is we're trying to time where we want to buy it. So ideally, to make lots of money, you do have to buy low and sell high, which in principle sounds a lot easier than it is. In actual fact, it's incredibly difficult to time the market. But in either case, we can buy at the market. Right now, the market is closed, but Trading 212 allows you to buy either how much you want in pounds or how much you want in shares. For example, if you are a beginner and you only want to buy £10 worth, you can input £10 worth, and what it will allow you to do in Trading 212 is actually buy fractional shares. Now, fractional shares, as you can see, from £10, I am estimated 0.668 shares in Amazon, which means instead of buying the entire share for $187, I can buy just £10 worth and it will give me a fraction of that share. Alternatively, I can change how many number of shares I want. For example, if I only wanted half a share, 0.5, that will be costing roughly around £74.82 in pounds, of course. Because Amazon is actually designated in dollars, we're going to have to do some sort of currency exchange. Now, Trading 212 recently has come up with new features where once you've exchanged your pounds to dollars, for example, you can keep them in dollars. So the next time you buy something, you don't have to exchange your money again. So it's very easy to get exactly how much you want invested. If you want to invest £100 a month, for example, you can just put in £100 whenever you wanted to, and then you press review order here. For the purpose of this video, I'm going to ignore this as I'm not interested in 24/5 trading right now. Press not interested, and then you can see here is a confirmation screen. You can see that Amazon, there is going to be an order type which is market buy. So when the market opens, my order will then afterwards be put through the system. You can see that the shares value that I'll be buying is £99.85. You may be wondering what happened to my other 15 pence. Here you are paying a foreign exchange fee from going from pounds to dollars. And so for £100, a very round number, that is exactly 15 pence. And you can see the total they will charge you is £100. And then you can press send by order here, which I'm not going to do. Now, if you don't want to buy it at market, there is also buying at limit. This is a feature that I always use. For example, if you want to sell one share of Amazon at a specific price, for example, if you are convinced that for some reason Amazon is going to drop down to $150, you can see here this is $37.17 below the current price here. And then here for expiration, if you think it might happen at the end of the day and then you want this to expire, you can do this. So if the price doesn't go to $150 by the end of the day, it will expire. Or you can press never. So if the price ever hits $150, what will happen is that your buy limit will execute and you will buy one share of Amazon for $150. Again, that price is never going to be guaranteed. It might not ever hit that. But by playing around with these options, you can get a better price than the current market price. Now, I'm going to go through selling a bit later on as I can show you my portfolio and if I wanted to sell some of my holdings, how to do that. So in addition to the watch list, there are also top winners. Again, these are companies that have been doing really well recently. Don't invest in them just because they are top winner. That does not make any sense. And then there are top losers. Again, there makes no sense to invest in a company just because they are here. There is most traded too. Again, as you can see the pattern, there is no sense in investing in a company just because everyone else is investing in them. US greats, UK's biggest, new on Trading 212, equity ETFs. We're going to talk about ETFs later, upcoming earnings, ETFs, and then you can create your own list here. So that is just the home screen. The next menu we're going to go is the one that you're going to be looking at the most if you are a Trading 212 investor, and that is down here, the pie icon. Now this is what we get here. Up here we see the total account balance. When we click that, you can see that my account value here currently is £14,914. My portfolio is £14,313.62. The portfolio is basically the collection of every stock that you've invested in and what the current value of that selection is. So essentially this is the value that you'll get if you were to sell all of your stocks at that particular point in time. You can also see here, this is the free funds menu. You can click here, and here it shows all the currencies you own. Before I said you can actually hold United States dollars if you wanted to trade in a lot of American companies. You can also hold euros and a bunch of other European currencies. I am a UK investor, so I only have Great British pounds. If I ever wanted to buy a US stock, I would just convert it then and there. But I prefer to have my money in pounds, and currently I have £600 and 86 pence. So when I showed you with Amazon, when you want to buy a share of Amazon or any other company, this will come away from your free funds. So do make sure that you do have enough money in your account to actually purchase these stocks at whatever price you wish to buy them at. So this is your portfolio, and as you can see here, the graph returns yet again. Now again, you have 1 day to 1 year and also the maximum time period. And here it shows you the value of your portfolio as a function of time. As you can see, my portfolio has fluctuated quite a bit over the years. Now it is nice to see the growth of your portfolio as a function of time, so you can actually do this as you want. So when you scroll down, there are two main tabs, investment and pies. I have made a video dedicated to pies, and if you want to learn that as a beginner, please check that video out over here. So I don't have to make this video too long and talk about pies here too. Now with investments, these are companies that I have personally invested in. You can see all the way from things like AMD, Alphabet, Amazon. We have also British companies here like Royal Mail, GSK, Direct Line Insurance, things like that. So here you will see all your holdings that you have, and as you can see, if I look at AMD, I have 0.03 shares in them, and as you know, Trading 212 allows you to buy fractional shares. The black number here, £3.89, tells you the value of my AMD shares at this particular time. It also says in green or red my total profit or loss, even though this is unrealized, of my current stock. So currently I am 94.5% up from when I started investing, and this is a gain of £1.89 for example. With Aston Martin, you can see that the black value is my current value, and I am down on Aston Martin by 4.52% since I've started investing, and that is a loss of 9 pence. Now I told you before that I'm going to show you how to sell a stock. So let's say right now with Aston Martin, we want to cut our losses and sell all the shares in Aston Martin. Here we can click into Aston Martin for example. Now, just like with every other company, you do have the price here, and this is in pence, so this is in pence sterling. You can also get companies in pound sterling, but 137.6 basically means 137 pence. Just like with every other company, you can see the fluctuations of the price. Now here you can see there are two buttons. One is sell and one is buy. We are definitely not going to be buying this company for this example. What we want to do is to press sell. Now, just like before, we can do a market sell. Very simple stuff. Right now, I can sell all of my shares when the market opens. So I can do this at £1.90. Review order, and as you can see here, this is the number of shares that I will sell. This is the approximate value that I will receive. Of course, the market fluctuates, so there is no guarantee what I'll get. So there is always going to be an approximation. And what is nice to know about Trading 212 is that there is no commission on these trades, so you're not paying extra pesky fees that you do have to on many other platforms. So anyway, I can press sell, send order, and when the market opens, I will be selling all of my Aston Martin shares. If you scroll down here, you can see that there is now a pending order, and when the market opens, this pending order will go through. Now with any company here, when you scroll down, you can see a bit more detail about your investment. So with Aston Martin, you can see that I have 1.37 shares and the current value is 190. You can also see the return that we've seen before, but you can also see the average price that I bought it for. So I bought it for 144.2 pennies or £1.40, and the current price here, you can see it has gone down. You can also find a bit more information about each stock, for example, the market cap, the revenue, the price to earnings ratio, the dividend yield if it has one, and some other figures that you probably don't have to go into as a beginner. Now, I am inevitably going to get this question on this video: how do I pick the best stock? What is the best stock that I should invest in? And the only thing that I can tell you is that you should do your own research when investing into your stocks. Like I said before, we all put our individual personal risk on our money in order to get some of these returns. Now, one way in which you can find out if a stock is right for you is to go through the company financials and fundamentals. Trading 212 at a glance now has included financials, for example, the income statement. You can see the income statement for Aston Martin, for example. Since 2021, their revenue has been increasing and their net income seems to be in the negatives. Also, you can see their balance sheets, so you can see their total number of assets versus liabilities, and the cash flow, so how much they're bringing in versus how much they're spending on investing and operating. And if you go into more financials, you can find out a bit more here. Now, this is very much a more advanced to intermediate thing to look into company fundamentals. So unless you are very experienced at investing, I would not suggest investing in individual stocks, because, for example, like you see with Aston Martin, the company price at one point was over £20, and now it's just dropped to a matter of pennies. Meaning, if we put all our money into a company like this, we would be 99.55% down, meaning we've lost everything practically. For this reason, please diversify, and one of the ways in which we can diversify is by looking into exchange traded funds. So as I've talked about before, there are also ways to invest which does not involve actually investing in individual companies like here. So if I scroll down, you can see my biggest holding is actually in an exchange traded fund. So what exchange traded funds are is a collection of stocks and shares in a particular field or a particular theme. Now, the most popular by far is the S&P 500, which is a collection of the top 500-ish companies in the USA. So what you're doing with an ETF like the S&P 500, so if I scroll down, is you're getting exposure to a bunch of companies that are performing really well in a certain field. So instead of putting all your money into Microsoft, for example, or Amazon like we've talked about before, you are spreading your money across dozens or even hundreds of companies, increasing your diversification, which is always a good thing, because of course, if you put your money into one or two companies, yes, if they go up, you will be making a lot of money, but if they go bankrupt, you will be losing everything. Now, I'm not telling you at all what to invest into in this video, but you can invest into certain ETFs. Of course, this should be on your own account and through your own freedom. Now, in order to discover new stocks or ETFs on the Trading 212 app, you're going to want to hit this magnifying glass here. Here again, we see a bit of scrolly action. And in the first one, the most traded, you will see the most traded stocks. Again, don't invest into a company just because it's the most traded. You can also see the most owned. You can further go into them if you really want to. You can see the most bought, the most sold, and then you can see things like big tech, biotech, and drugs. So these are themes. So if you wanted to invest in companies, for example, electric vehicles, you can discover new companies here. Again, just don't go into a company just because you've discovered them. You can also see the top movers, new on Trading 212, most borrowed, top winners, just like we've seen before. But here we can see the most popular ETFs. We can see equity ETFs, real estate investment trusts, commodity ETFs, all sorts of stuff. So let's just go into most popular ETFs right now. Now, I would rather that you go into a most popular ETF to understand what to invest in rather than the most popular stock. This is because generally speaking, the most popular ETFs have the most money in them and are usually the more reliable ones. But please, again, this is not investment advice. Now here we can find out a bunch of ETFs. For example, the most common ETF for the S&P 500 is the VUSA. Now let's go into this. What this means is that this is the S&P 500 ETF. So on the top, we can see it says ETF here, but here it says VUSA or VUSA. This is the ticker code. Now every stock, even Amazon, will have a short character ticker code. Here for Amazon, it is AMZN. For GSK, it is GSK. And another example, for Tesla, it is TSLA. Now this ticker code corresponds to a specific fund. So if you already know the ticker code that you want to invest in, you can just go to the magnifying glass here. And then for example, GSK, I can just type in the ticker code and then I can find the specific stock. But in any case, with an ETF, for example, the same thing applies. You can buy, and if you already own it, you can sell it. So for example, I don't own any of this, so I can go into buy, and just like before we've learned, we can buy at a market order or even buy at a limit order, and if we own it, we can sell at the market order or a limit order too. Now, ETFs are designed to act like stocks, so they can be bought and sold throughout the day just like individual stocks. However, you do get the benefit of a good level of diversity. Now, for example, I've made lots of videos on ETFs on this channel, so you can learn more about the specifics there. This is just a beginner's guide into getting started investing on Trading 212, navigating the menus and learning more about the platform. There are a lot of extra things that I can go through in this tutorial, but it is not actually the focus of this tutorial. For example, the cash that you have in your free funds, you can earn interest on that when you're not invested, when you haven't used that money to invest into funds. Currently, you can opt in for a higher amount of 5.2%, which is really high and beats almost every single major bank. This is paid out daily, although this value here is a yearly amount. Now, there is extra risk in activating this higher amount. For example, this money is put into qualifying money market funds, and certain protections that you have with cash with Trading 212 might not apply to this amount that you earn with the higher interest rate. So now that we know how to use the Trading 212 app, we know that this is the portfolio that we can see what we've invested in. If we go into a random holding, we can actually sell as well as buy more. We can also use this magnifying glass here to discover new stocks or invest in companies that we want to invest in. For example, let's go through Tesco. When we type that in, we do get a few companies. So for example, this is the Tesco that you may be familiar with if you're in the UK, ticker code TSCO. So just to be sure that this is the right one, what we can do is scroll down and then click on Instruments Details. Now this is the correct one because it has the full name Tesco PLC. And more importantly, this is on the London Stock Exchange. You always want to go with the exchange that your local currency is based on. If you can, for example, if it is a British company and you want to invest in pounds, you should go with the London Stock Exchange. Some companies such as H&M, for example, will be only available in euros. So then when you buy or sell, you do have to pay that foreign exchange fee. So here on our portfolio screen, we can scroll down and we can get an idea of our allocation of our stocks. For example, currently I have £14,313 worth of investments. This constitutes of 31 investments. I can click this here. You can see that my biggest holding by far is in the iShares Core S&P 500, and then my biggest holding afterwards is in Lloyds Banking Group, and then Amazon, and then so on and so forth. You can see that this makes slices of this half moon here. We can scroll down and see what each other big slice here is, and we can see visually what our portfolio consists of. If you've got this far in the video, then comment the word orange in the comment section down below and I will know how far you've gotten. And if you need help with anything, I will reply to every single comment on this video. Make sure to check out my other videos on this channel as I go through everything Trading 212 related.